Yes, next question is with regard to ecological succession. Question number 26. Ecological succession, a very, very important topic, a very basic topic. Ecological succession. See, with regard to ecological succession, what is ecological succession? Yes, it is the gradual replacement of one community by another community until a climax community or a stable community is reached in that particular ecosystem. That is what is ecological succession is all about. Now, with regard to ecological succession, we have also seen there are different types of ecological succession, like primary succession is there, secondary succession is there, autogenic succession is there, allogenic succession is there, then autotrophic succession is there, heterotrophic succession is there. These are some of the classifications of ecological succession. Now, the very basic classification or the very basic division of ecological succession is the primary succession as well as the secondary succession, right. So, what is primary succession? See, primary succession is the succession which is occurring on a bare surface, like the succession which happens on a bare rock, where initially the pioneer species like lichens and all lichens, mosses, all these actually inhabit that particular bare surface of the rock. Gradually weathering happens, then the plant lives inhabit the area, and gradually secondary succession happens there. Okay. So, primary succession, it is relatively a slower process which is happening on a bare surface where there is no soil. The first species are known as pioneer species to colonize that particular area. For example, lichens. Okay, lichens, etc. Lichens and mosses are examples of those species, the pioneer species. Now, secondary succession. Secondary succession, yes, it is the sequential development of biotic communities after the completion of the primary succession. Okay, after the primary succession has been completed, what happens? Due to some anthropogenic, that is due to some man-made or natural forces, the primary community, the existing community will be destroyed, and a second term of succession will be taking place in that particular area where already soil is there from the primary succession. So, such type of succession we call it as the secondary succession. Okay, so in secondary succession we can see that since all the conducive factors are there, what happens is succession will be much more faster, right. It will not be on a bare surface. There, yes, soil will be there, presence of soil will be there from the primary succession. Okay. Now, let us look the statements. The first statement says, in primary succession on a terrestrial site, the new site is first colonized by a few hardy pioneer species that are often small shrubs and trees like oaks, beeches and pines. See, for small trees to grow, they need, yes, they need soil, right. But we know during primary succession it is happening from a bare surface where soil is not present. Okay. So, the first statement says the pioneer species there are shrubs and trees, which means that particular statement is wrong. The pioneer species are lichens and mosses. So, first statement is wrong there, which means you can eliminate option B and option C. The remaining is A and D, both contain 2 and 4, which means 2 and 4 automatically turns out to be right statements. Now, the question is with regard to third statement. Okay, third statement. Let's look the third statement. Unlike the primary succession, the secondary succession starts on a well-developed soil. Is it correct? Yes, it is correct. We know in primary succession there is no well-developed soil. Okay, weathering has to happen. Okay, subsequently weathering has to happen. Initially in primary succession there is no soil. Okay, soil is not there. It is on bare surface that these lichens and mosses are growing. So, third statement says, Unlike the primary succession, the secondary succession starts on a well-developed soil. That is right. In case of secondary succession, it is starting on a well-developed soil. So, third statement there it is right. So, if third statement is right, automatically D will be your answer 2, 3 and 4. Right. So, second statement says secondary succession is sequential development of biotic communities after the complete destruction of existing community. That is right. And fourth statement says all succession, whether taking place in water or land, proceeds to a similar climax community, the mesic. Yes, whether it is land or whether it is water, gradually they will proceed to a similar climax community, which is the mesic community. Okay. Yes, next is the 27th question. The 27th question is with regard to International Whaling Commission. Again, a question from the International Environmental Organization part. So, this also we have come across many times with regard to International Whaling Commission. Recently also it was there in the news. With why? Because recently Japan announced its withdrawal from the International Whaling Commission. Okay. So, first statement says International Whaling Commission is an NGO. That is, it is a non-governmental organization whose purpose is conservation of whales and management of whaling. Second statement says India is not a member country to IWC, and you have to pick out the incorrect statement. That is the twist here, you have to pick out the incorrect statement. Which of the following statements is or are not correct? See, the first statement says, yes, its purpose is the conservation of whales and management of whaling. That is right. But the first half of the first statement says it is a non-governmental organization. See, International Whaling Commission, it is an intergovernmental organization. Okay, it is an intergovernmental organization and it is not an NGO, which means that the first statement it is wrong. And the second statement, it says India is not a member country to IWC. See, India is a member country. Okay, India is a member country to International Whaling Commission, which means the second statement here it is also wrong, and the question is asking about the incorrect statement. So, your answer here should be option C. Okay, your answer should be option C. Why? Because both the statements they are not correct. Yes, next question is question number 29 with regard to species roles. The first statement says sea otters, American alligators are examples of keystone species. Second statement says flagship species are always keystone species and good indicators of biological process. Third statement says an indicator species is a species or group of species chosen as an indicator of or proxy for the state of an ecosystem or of a certain process within that ecosystem. Fourth statement says flagship species are usually relatively large and considered to be charismatic in Western cultures. See, the first statement, it is with regard to species role. Okay, certain species they have got certain roles in the ecosystem that we call by them certain terms. Like we have flagship species, we have indicator species, we have keystone species, and so on. So, the first statement says sea otters, American alligators are examples of keystone species. It is a fact. The keystone species, they are organisms which helps to define the entire ecosystem. Or we can see that once the keystone species is gone extinct, it actually affects the ecosystem in a very bad manner. Okay, so the keystone species are very important to define a particular ecosystem. So, definitely sea otters and American alligators, they are examples of keystone species. That is actually a right statement. Okay. Second statement says flagship species are always keystone species and good indicators of biological process. See, flagship species is a species which is selected by some organizations to act as an ambassador, or it is actually representing as an icon or a symbol of a particular habitat or a particular ecological region. That type of species we call it as flagship species. Okay, so here the second statement says they are good indicators of biological process and they are always keystone species. Okay, see, flagship species, there is no necessary criteria or there is no mandatory criteria like they should be keystone species. Here also in the second statement there is an extreme word always, which means you can eliminate the second statement here. So, if you eliminate the second statement, you can directly hit the answer. See, B gets eliminated, C gets eliminated and D gets eliminated, which means your answer here will be option A, 1, 3 and 4. which means except for 2, all the 3 statements are right here, just by eliminating the second statement. See, the third statement says an indicator species is a species or group of species which is chosen as an indicator or proxy for the state of an ecosystem of a certain process within that ecosystem. See, indicator species, they includes like we can say dolphins, they are indicator species. Why? Because they actually reflect the quality of the environment in which they live, or they indicate the biological processes that are happening within their ecosystem. Okay, they are indicators of the health or the quality of the ecosystem in which they inhabit. Such type of species we are calling it as indicator species. So here, yes, the third statement, it is right. And fourth statement says flagship species are usually relatively large and considered to be charismatic in Western cultures. That is also right. Okay, that is a general statement. It is right. So here your answer is yes, 1, 3 and 4. A is your answer.